It's a beautiful day in Denver, and it doesn't look like the snow is going away anytime soon. In the last episode, we brewed up a quick sour beer, nailed the acidification with a pH of 3.5, and sent it to primary. I've been checking in on it ever since, and I think it might be time to add some fruit. Before we get to that though, there's something else on my mind. I'm definitely into quick sours, but it's not the only way to sour a beer or the best way. It's pretty hard to beat a traditional aged sour. One example of this is the Berliner Weisse. These tart, blonde beers hail from Germany, and as I understand it, they are one of 2 beer styles to withstand the test of time in that area. I've been trying to finish American Sour Beers by Michael Tonsmeyer for probably 2 or 3 years now. In the book, Tonsmeyer explains Berlin's low-alcohol wheat beers and Leipzig's salt and coriander-enriched Gose are the only 2 surviving styles, with others still waiting to be revived. Now, I'm certainly no history expert, but I can tell you one thing. When you get it right, this can be a damn good sour. Now, let's make some beer. For this beer, I'm using 50% Pilsner malt and 50% wheat malt. While the grain bill is super simple, the mash schedule is going to be a bit hectic. For Berliners and many other traditional sours, it's best to slowly raise the temperature during your mash to encourage the formation of complex sugar compounds for the brettanomyces to munch on during secondary fermentation. This might sound a little complicated, but just know I'll be doing a step mash to try to make some food for the Brett. For the first step in our schedule, I'm shooting for a mash temperature of 113 degrees, so I have this Anvil Foundry brew system set to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. While this strike water heats up, I'm adjusting the water profile for this beer using gypsum, calcium chloride, and a little lactic acid. While this step isn't necessarily required to make good beer, it definitely helps, especially if you want to make something great. And just like that, we've hit our strike temperature. Time to mash in. I'm going to keep mashing this in until everything is nice and saturated. Once we're mashed in, I'll bump the kettle down a couple degrees to our target temperature of 113 degrees and set the timer for 15 minutes. That's 15 minutes, so I'm raising the temperature to 131 degrees. Once we've hit our target temperature, I'll start the timer for another 15 minutes. As you can see, 40% power just wasn't getting us where we wanted to be, so I bumped the power up to 80% and quickly hit the target temp. Okay, cool. We're halfway into our mash and moving on to step 3. Up to 144 we go. Once we're there, I'll start the timer for 30 minutes. Then our last and final step is 162 degrees for another 30 minutes. While this mash finishes up, let's go check on that quick sour from last episode. Our little pride and joy has been going for just over a week and primary fermentation looks to be finished. That means it's time to add some fruit. Since it's the middle of winter, there really weren't too many fresh fruit options. Instead, I went for some organic juices: pomegranate, blueberry, and tart cherry. Now watch me spill this all over myself. Heck yeah, I'm also going to zest 1 lime and throw it in for some brightness. Now, all I need to do is rack this beer on top and tuck it away for secondary fermentation. Alright, I'm back in the garage and it's time to yank these grains and get our boil started. Now that our basket is up and out of the wort, I'm rinsing the grain with 175 degree water until I've collected about 4 gallons of wort. This step is called the sparge and isn't always necessary with these all-in-one brew systems. Once this starts boiling, I'll start the timer for 1 hour. We're 15 minutes into our boil and it's time for some hops. No need to get fancy. Here's 8 grams of Hallertau and 45 minutes to go. Time to get the wort chiller in there. We've got 15 minutes left on our 1 hour timer. And just like that, we're ready to chill. Once this is cooled down and in the carboy, I'll pitch the yeast. I'm going with Bavarian wheat yeast and Lactobacillus brevis from Y yeast and a fermentation temperature of about 72 degrees. I'm stoked to see how this beer turns out. Once primary fermentation is over, we'll need to add some brettanomyces to finish off those complex sugars we created during the step mash. More to come. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you again soon.